welcome to another episode of the Spooky Chris podcast. This is Chris Ringler, author, occasional artsy kind of fella, and the gentleman behind this podcast and my website, spookychris.com. As I'm around the 30 episode mark, I have slowly endeavored to talk about the books, because as a writer I have about 20 books out. Actually, just am getting going on another book, a sequel to a book I put out this year called Roadkill. So I have a whole heap of books out, and I've slowly been kind of talking about them in the podcast. And I figured I would talk about my book, Cemetery Earth, this time around. Again, I have a lot of books and a lot of talking to do about them. So I'll figure, I'll talk about Cemetery Earth this time. Cemetery Earth started really as an ash can. Ash cans, for those who don't know, I guess a chapbook. All right, so I cut my teeth in comic convention circuit. And artists put out ash cans, and those are short form comics. I consider what I do ash cans, but they're chapbooks. I mean, I forget chapbooks are more literary. So I started a chapbook. I put out, around year 2000, early 2000s. I mean, I started this a long time ago. And my idea, was just, I started actually with a story that isn't even in the book. About someone that had the power to kind of reanimate people with, he would take their ashes and form them into kind of golems, and would create kind of mimics of them that way. And after that, I love zombies. I love horror, but I love zombies, and I love Living Dead movies. And so, as a kid that grew up watching horror movies, that was, an obvious place to kind of mine. And I started writing these stories, and I didn't really know where I was going with them. The chapbook there's not really a through line. It's just short zombie stories. One of them was one of the foundational ones was that my idea. What if there were zombies in trench warfare, and the idea of being kind of trapped with them. And so, I put the chapbook out, and it was basically, so when I did these chapbooks, I did a handful of them, and I was basically trying to create ways to support my first book, Back from Nothing. Back from Nothing was a book of short stories, and it was the only thing I had to take to conventions. I started doing conventions because there was no way to support the book. It's great to just do everything online, and it'd be swell if that was all you had to do, would be kind of passive about it, but that's not how it works. And it frankly doesn't work. So I, really had to kind of be proactive, and I went to Motor City Comic Con and was selling this book. Well, but one book wasn't enough. I mean, I've seen it work for someone, but it was a thin, book of short stories, and I was a nobody. I'm still a nobody, but so I put these chapbooks together as another means to promote myself and my writing, and it was another way to make a buck or two. And again, it's basically everything was to serve that first book, Back from Nothing. So that's kind of where Cemetery Earth started. So I didn't really do anything with it for years and years, and then I started kind of fooling around with it more, writing short stories and working on a little more and kind of fleshing it out. So you're talking 19, no, let's see. I put, 19 years. It was about 10 or more years. I'm trying to think when I put Cemetery Earth out. It was, 10, 12, like in 2010 to 2012, something like that. I'd have to look again, which is funny again. The wonder that my memory is so poor, and I put out enough books that I'm not sure when I put the darn thing out. So you'll forgive me that. But it was a long process, again, because I just, it wasn't something I was worried about. But I thought, I liked writing these stories and stuff. And once, in 2009, once I realized that self-publishing was more of a thing and that I had the ability to kind of control my fate, it kind of allowed me to revisit projects and to revisit ideas and to really pick up threads that I'd let go of because, I would, kept writing stories and kept being interested in stuff, but without kind of an outlet to do, something, and without something to do with all of this, it didn't mean as much. It didn't have it was kind of like an arrow without a direction. Like it just was kind of going, but it wasn't going anywhere. So I kind of put everything together that I had, and I started kind of creating a narrative. And to me, I consider Cemetery Earth a novel of short stories. There's a main character named Hunter, and he is the focus of the book. And he is a 10-year-old with a very tragic background who's trying to survive the end of the world, and kind of find his way forward. And the book isn't just about him, but he is the through line. And that's what I felt I needed, is I didn't want to just have a collection of these stories. But I tried to experiment, I tried to have fun with it. My idea for the book itself was the idea that the earth had been soaked in so much blood over the course of human history that it had, Mother Nature, for lack of a better term, had developed a taste for it. And because humans had destroyed so much of the planet and had done, so much damage, that this, raising the dead, and these are, these are not Dawn of the Dead, Walking Dead these are not a virus, these are kind of supernatural dead. They are risen by the earth itself through some, and again, as well as that's the fun thing is some of this stuff, like, I don't get into it with the science or anything, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter all why they're doing their thing. Like, that doesn't make the book better or worse. I don't need to know exactly how a TIE fighter flies, and I know that there's stuff out there that tells you why, and there's reasons and this and that. I personally don't need to know why. It doesn't matter. I'm not interested in it. The zombies are vehicles of terror, so that's the purpose. They're not, fully formed characters per se. They are the engines of destruction used by the Earth to get rid of humanity, which has become a threat to the planet. It's a self-defense mechanism. So it's a thick book, but it's a book of short stories following the survivors and the people trying to live through this. And there's at least one story that follows the dead. And again, my idea was to kind of look at this world through different eyes. I kind of came up with a few novel ideas that I thought were pretty neat that are in the book. And again, I hate being coy and you have to read the book to understand. But it's my hope that people out there once in a while will pick the book up and want to read it. And I'd prefer they discover it on their own. I don't want to know every last thing about something I'm going to read. And that's me personally. I love the book though, because I really like Hunter. I like his companion that he comes across. I like some of the things in there. I like the idea of kind of supernatural zombies. And again, it's not like they're have any powers per se, but they're these just kind of engines of destruction. That's what they are. That's the purpose they serve. And I like that. I like that that's what all they are. That's all they need to be. But it's neat because I wrote anyone that's ever written or read anything, the second person. So there's first person, second person, third person. Are the tenses? They're that you can write in, or the focus. So first person is I went to the store, I bought a zombie. Third person is he went to the store, he bought a zombie. Second person you never see because it's just a pain in the neck. It's you went to the store, you bought a zombie. You would see. I remember seeing it as a kid. You would see second person stuff, and you see it in Which Way books or Choose Your Own Adventures. Those kind of books. You will see that kind of an language and that kind of a viewpoint. It's a weird, and I guarantee there's probably pretty darn good to great works out there that have used it. It's just not something that I'd ever used before, really, and it wasn't something I loved. But I wrote a story like that just to challenge myself. I wrote a ghost story. What's funny too is as I did cram some ghosts into the book, here and there. There's definitely a lot of politics, which considering how long ago I wrote it, politics that have come true to varying degrees. There's a portion of the book that is basically Europe kind of puts its foot down, is like, you need to disarm as a nation. They say this to the United States, and this is where some of the trouble kind of comes from, is that. But like I say, it's a big book. It is a super duper thick book. I love it to pieces. If you like zombies, I think it's a heck of a run. I put it out as an ebook. You can get a physical copy. I remember I did the photo, the cover. The cover was a photo I did with my wife. I had some old meat, and fake blooded it all up, and kind of put fake blood around stuff, and set the camera up, and we got a really great angle, and it's a cool cover. I knew a guy who was an artist, and he was like, "Oh, cool! Can I fool around with it?" So he went in and he went over everything with Prisma pen markers, and that just really, I love the initial photo we did. I think it's great. I think it would have worked on its own. I think it could have used maybe some filter stuff. But what this guy, Lauren, did with the cover is fantastic. He nailed it, and it wouldn't have the same look or feel as without that cover he did, without the kind of the remix. It's cool because I know an artist named David Hansen, who did an art piece and gave it to me based on the book, and I love that. Like, I don't really have fans. I don't really have a fan base per se, but once in a while it's pretty neato when that kind of stuff happens. I definitely appreciate it, and I get a lot out of that. It means a lot to me. But yeah, Cemetery Earth is several hundred pages long. It's about 15 to. Gosh, it's funny I say all these things. It's a random number priced book. Here, I'll go back. I'll tell you how much the book is as I look things up. It's a $17 book. Truly, and again, it's funny too. I forget. So as I was writing everything, because again, I kind of had an idea to do this as a book. And when I was starting to work on it way back in the earlier part of the 2000s, zombies were a big deal. Shaun of the Dead and everything. But I kind of foresaw, I was like, this isn't going to last. And you don't want to be the last person out of the gate with your story about something that's kind of faddish at the time. Like, you don't want to be the last guy writing the vampire story when the last Twilight movie is coming out, when the fad is over. Because it's not going to get a chance. Everybody's like, yeah, cool, we read this, saw this, we're over it. But the thing is that, so I waited all these years, and zombies never went away. And it shows you kind of the power of zombies. That's what, they're a fun storytelling tool because they're a blank. They're kind of, you can project whatever you want on them. They tell whatever story you want. They're social and political. They're scary, but they are, as much a mirror for the time as anything else. And I think that's why they're still so popular. But yeah, so it was funny because it again, that held me up, and then I was like, to heck with it. I'm just going to write the darn book and put it out. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, I didn't want to sit on it anymore. But I think it's a heck of a book. If you like zombies, I think the lead character, Hunter, is great. He's a strong young kid who is a survivor, who has seen the worst, and he survives. His companion is a survivor. It's a dark book because it's about the end of the world, but there's also it's about survivors, and it's about surviving. And it's always one of those books that I'll always have. Again, I've written a lot, so imagine that. I have a soft place for it, but I'll always have a soft place for it because I think it's different enough. And again, there's elements in it that are different enough that set it apart from everybody else and what kind of you've seen before. So yeah, hopefully, check out my website, spookychris.com, or look it up on Amazon, Cemetery Earth by Chris Ringler. I think if you like zombies, I think you'll get a charge out of it. I will be back soon. Hope you are enjoying, because as I record this, I try not to really obsess too much about dates and stuff, because it doesn't really matter. You could listen to this in 18 years or tomorrow. But hopefully you're enjoying your holidays as we inch into them. So whatever your beliefs, enjoy your holidays and enjoy one another. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.